Okay, everybody, it's that time, Wednesday. Good morning to everybody. We don't have a full chat room, and we probably don't have sound yet, but that's okay, because right now it is Wednesday, and it is, speaking of Wednesdays, the Happy Hour Social Club tonight. You can find them on Twitch. You can find them on Facebook, King Hap and Taco. You could come to our website, LennyMelnickFantasySports.com/live, and you see a link to their show. But you can also hear it right here at the website in the live chat room. They have more people chatting over there at Twitch, and the people are great fun. All of them are from, not all of them, but there's a good amount of them from Boston, since that's where King Hap is. And Taco, he lives down in Florida, but the King Hap and Taco Happy Hour tonight at 7:30. We'd like you to join in. We get up very early in this house, so we don't make it very much, but I'm just waiting for sound to come into the chat room, and we'll get going. I see the chat room filling up. Good morning to Tommy Johnson. Good morning to Danny Fuller. Robert C is here. Robert C, I don't know if you can hear me yet, but I'm going to tell you anyway. Somebody can hear me somewhere. Robert C, sound is good. All right, everybody. Sound is good. All right. Now let me tell you, Robert C, great to see you back in the chat room. I couldn't believe it when I saw Chris Gallo come out of nowhere and beat you in the Legion chat leagues. Just the one. We had two this year, but it was a mixed redraft league, and Robert C had the lead all season long. All of a sudden, I went to go look to congratulate the winners, and I see that he's not winning anymore. So you did a great job, Robert C, in the fantasy league, the Legion chat leagues, and we really appreciate all the work. Anyway, good job to Robert C. Even though he didn't get the first prize, we'll see him again next year, I'm sure. Next year, we're going to do points leagues. We're going to do head-to-head points leagues, and, that means that it will be an even number of teams. I'm going to really try to stick it to 12 teams, the normal-size leagues, and we'll just play from a different angle. Instead of Roto, we'll do the head-to-head. Good morning to King Turd. Great to see you. How exciting for the Texas Rangers. We're going to get to that. We're going to do some game previews. We're going to talk about yesterday's just complete beating of the Arizona Diamondbacks. And Lenny is very happily off to see his son, who just flew into Chicago last night. He's driving over to his ex-wife's house, and it will be Lenny's kids, his daughter and his son, and Linda, who just had eye surgery. He's off to do that, and he hasn't seen his oldest son in several years, and he couldn't be more excited to go there today and get it, just to give him a hug. So Lenny and Lenny's family, that's all it is. That's why I'm here today. You're stuck with me. Anyway, DK Luge, great to see you. SM King Turd, Tommy Johnson, I'm so glad, and it's great to see Unholy. Good for you, Unholy. Nice to see you back. Leonard Donaldson, we have a couple Rangers fans in here. I'm pretty sure you're the Houston fan. Let me know if I'm wrong in the chat room. Laura's here. Mary, great to see you. Did I say everybody? DK Lush and Captain Danny, along with Mrs. Penny. All right, here we go. So just let me know. I think Leonard Donaldson is a Houston fan. And if that's true, then you have King Turd in here against Leonard Donaldson, a Houston Astro fan, against a Texas Ranger diehard. Just took his 4-year-old son, to his first MLB game at Texas Rangers. And so, just from what I've seen, when you take their kid to the first baseball game, the kid is now a fan of that team for life. That's how I see it. So, all right. So Leonard Donaldson against the Texas Rangers and King Turd tonight. How exciting, though. I was texting with King Turd the other night, me and Lenny and him in Twitter, and the game was so good. These kids play with all their heart. You could just you just can't. I mean, unless you're an Astros fan, it's hard to imagine not rooting for these youngsters. And then Bruce Bochy, I mean, it's just all falling in line, and you got to give credit where credit's due to these young kids that just go out there and it's like, I haven't watched March Madness in a long time, but as I was growing up and stuff, and even up to about 10 years ago when I stopped watching it, these young kids, they play with 100% because they're all trying to get signed. They're all trying to get their career going. But these youngsters in baseball play just as much hard as those guys in March Madness. And anyway, it's like the kids going up against the veteran World Series professionals. They've been in the World Series and the playoffs like every year for the past 5 or 6 years at least. And here's Texas just coming out of nowhere. Both these teams had 90 wins in the season. Anyway, we're going to talk more about the Rangers and the Astros, of course, later on. But let's talk about the chances of winning the World Series according to Fangraphs right now. Of course, nobody's surprised to hear the Phillies, 41.6% chance of winning the World Series. The Texas Rangers, number 2, 33%. Houston, of course, number 3, but they're only at 13%, and the Diamondbacks are at 12%. And after what we saw last night, the Diamondbacks may be, I doubt if they're at 12% still. That's all I got to say. The Phillies have hit 19 home runs this postseason, and they've allowed only 4 home runs. Their ERA so far in the postseason is 1.46, okay? This was Rob Thompson's 25th postseason game as the Phillies manager. He has 18 wins in his first 25 games, are tied for the most by any manager in postseason history with Joe McCarthy and Casey Stengel. Of course, the Phillies beat the Diamondbacks 10-0 yesterday, and now they're 2 victories away from a return trip to the World Series. Prior to last night, the last time a National League team scored 10 or more runs and shut out their opponent in the postseason, it was the Phillies again in 2009. It was the National League Championship Series Game 3. They beat the Dodgers 11-0. So this is the second time it's happened in the last 15 years. For a team to score 10 or more runs on their opponent in the postseason, and Philly's done it twice. All right, the Diamondbacks, though, it's the first time the Diamondbacks have been shut out in their 47-game postseason history. The Phillies are the second team to not trail at the end of any full inning over a 6-game span at home within a single postseason, joining the 2017 Astros, who had 2 overlapping such spans. Good morning to Zelmo and Tony. All right. The Phillies are 28-11 in postseason at Citizens Bank Park. That's a .718 win percentage, and it currently stands as the best record in the postseason for any team in any park with a minimum of 20 games. The Phillies have out-homered opponents by 37 home runs in the postseason at home. The Phillies fans are unlike any other fans. They're louder. They're loud as hell, okay? And everybody in this room knows it. All right? It's the best home run differential in the postseason for any team in any ballpark. They've out-homered opponents by 15 home runs so far this postseason. That's the best home run differential for a team in any 8-game span within a single postseason. Merrill Kelly departed. He gave up 3 hits, but every hit that he gave up was a home run. The Diamondbacks have now gone 3 straight games without a hit when runners are in scoring position. So the Diamondbacks, what do you expect? The Phillies have now hit 15 home runs in the last 4 games. It's a postseason record too. And for all that's been made about the Phillies' powerful offense, their pitching has been also very outstanding this postseason. 13 runs, only 11 of them earned in 8 games. 5 of them were in their one loss versus the Braves, meaning just 8 runs and 7 earned given up in their 7 postseason wins. Not just loud, they're mean too, right? They're not just loud. What else are they, Leonard Donaldson? Are they mean? I have a feeling they might be a little rambunctious, to say the least. All right? Last night, Diamondbacks All-Star Corbin Carroll led off the game with a broken bat bloop single. That was 2 nights ago. Last night, he leads off the game with an error by shortstop Trey Turner. But let me tell you something about this Trey Turner. You see this guy slide? He's got the slide down to perfection, okay? No doubt about it. He slides with such grace. He could be a ballerina doing his slides. All right. Anyway, neither of these times that he got on base did he attempt to steal, even after he stole 54 bases during the regular season. Philadelphia is the only place where they had a mini court in the stadium. A what court? A municipal court? Why? Because they have to send these fans to jail? Holy moly. Okay, not just loud. What else do they do? Do they have to go to jail? Do they have a holding cell down there at Phillies? That's pretty funny. Good morning to Merrill. Kyle Schwarber's the first leadoff hitter ever with a multi-homer game in the National League Championship Series. He had 2 home runs the other night. He has 18 career home runs in the postseason, and it ties Reggie Jackson for the most by a left-handed hitter in MLB postseason history. Yes, they do. They have a freaking holding cells. Probably a hospital too, right? They probably have a good-sized medical ward over there. All ballparks have a little nurses, doctors. They have a place to go in case of emergency, but I bet the Phillies one is maybe quite large. The last time the Phillies lost a home game in October was in 2016 against Bartolo Colon and the Mets. Someone named Phil Klein started for the Phillies. Bartolo was 43 years old that year and an all-star. The Phillies now own a plus 31 run differential at home this postseason. Only one team in MLB history finished a postseason with a plus 30 run differential at home, and that was the 2007 Red Sox at plus 39. The Phillies have scored 10-plus runs in multiple games in a single postseason for the second time in franchise history. And Kyle Schwarber's home run last night gives the Phillies 14 homers in their last 4 games. 4 individual multi-home run games this postseason by the Phillies. They've trailed at the end of only 2 full innings this postseason. That's the fewest through the first 8 games of a postseason. Prior fewest through the first 8 games was 7 in 2014 by Kansas City. Holy moly, I can't repeat that, but that's pretty amazing. All right, here we go. Turner, Schwarber, all the home runs off of Merrill Kelly yesterday. That's it. All right, we're good to go with the Phillies tidbits. Anyway, let me give you a little bit more. They're pitching. They're just crushing these pitchers. The Phillies' last 4 games, 3 home runs off of A.J. Smith-Shawver, 3 home runs off of Spencer Strider, 3 home runs off of Zach Gallen, and 3 home runs off of Merrill Kelly. These are not just rinky-dink pitchers here that we're talking about. Now, one bright moment for the Diamondbacks is that Ketel Marte has an 11-game hitting streak to start his postseason career so far. Only 5 players have started their postseason career with a longer hitting streak. So Ketel Marte, the one bright spot. Andrew Friedman, here, these are for you, Danny. I threw a couple of Dodgers dillies in here. Andrew Friedman indicated that Clayton Kershaw has not yet informed the Dodgers whether or not he intends to pitch next season, But you got to admit, the Dodgers really missed Walker Buehler badly these past two postseasons. He has a career 2.94 ERA and 79.2 innings pitched in the postseason. And if they can get Buehler back next year, it'll be as impactful as a big signing or trade. I'm sorry, you should be crying in your beer because the Dodgers made some huge mistakes with their pitching, and all they're doing right now is reaping karma, and that's how it is. Now, Kyle Schwarber hit 2 of Philadelphia's 3 solo homers off of Merrill Kelly, and the Phillies pounded the Diamondbacks 10-0. It's now 2-0 in the National League Championship Series. And last night was the 47th postseason game for the Arizona Diamondbacks in their franchise history, and the first time they've been shut out. Philadelphia now 7-1 in the playoffs, moving closer to a second straight World Series appearance. And Aaron Nola tossed 3 hit ball. He struck out 7 in 6 innings. You're not crying, Danny? Are you sure? It was pretty easy for you to get past how they just got shut out in the postseason. All right. Turd, that's pretty good. Okay, Aaron Nola, 6 innings, 3 hits, no walks, 7 strikeouts, and 82 pitches. He has a 1.57 ERA in 5 career postseason starts at Citizens Bank Park. It's the lowest ERA in first 8 games of a single postseason. 1983, the Orioles, they had a 1.23 ERA, and this year the Phillies have a 1.39 ERA. The Phillies bullpen has totally changed since 2020 when they had an ERA over 7. Trey Turner, homer. JT Realmuto, 2 hits and 3 RBIs. Game 3 is tomorrow at Chase Field. The Rangers also hold a 2-0 lead over the Astros in the ALCS headed into today's game. There were 45,412 rambunctious Phillies fans determined to shake the ballpark last night, and they did it. Phillies manager Rob Thompson said a rival coach told him last season that a playoff game in Philly was 4 hours of hell, and Turner sent a charge through the crowd when he clocked a 4-seam fastball to left center field for a 1-0 lead in the first inning. Now let's move on to a little, what do we have going on tonight? Here's the sad news for you, Leonard Donaldson, although I wouldn't put it past them. No team has ever come back to win a league championship series after losing the first 2 games at home. Never. They've never done it. Will the Astros be the first to do it? Teams are 0-21 all time when losing the first 2 league championship series games at home. Tonight, well, I told you earlier that they both finished the season with 90 and 72 records. Houston still got first place in the AL West, while Texas Rangers had second place. I don't know what the tiebreaker is, but they had exactly the same records. Christian Javier goes against Max Scherzer. Let's go, Scherzer. We love some veteran blood. This is exactly why they decided to take the chance on Scherzer. They need him tonight. Max Scherzer is the type of guy, too. He knows everything's on the line tonight, and nothing will stop him from coming out there and doing the best he can. Now, let's hope that's good. They have great momentum coming into this game. They're going to be at home. I mean, it's very exciting for the Rangers, but I'm not counting the Astros out. Like I said, these guys are experienced in the postseason. And this guy, Christian Javier, man, if you want to have to rely on somebody in this game, I don't think a good idea would be. In the postseason so far, Christian Javier has walked 5 batters in 5 innings. That's a horrible walk rate, obviously. He did strike out 9 batters in 5 innings with a 0 ERA, so he didn't allow any runs. But when you walk 5 batters, the fact that you didn't allow any runs is just pure luck, okay? So yes, his ERA looks great. It's 0. However, you walked and gave guys 5 free passes, and that the Rangers guys, they're young at the plate, but they don't mess around. I love it. I hate to be against anybody because I know Leonard Donaldson is one of our greatest chat room people, but I'm very excited for the Rangers. It's just me, and the Astros are an excellent team, of course. The Rangers have a 57% chance to win, and the Houston Astros have a 42.7% chance to win. Now, this is based on ESPN's matchup predictor, so take it for what you will. You look at the team stats, you look at the batting average, the runs, the hits, the home runs, all through the season, and these two teams are so close to each other. You look at the earned run average, 394 for Houston, 428 for Texas Rangers. One of the Rangers' problems all through the season was that they do not have a bunch of stars in their rotation. They do not have Jacob deGrom. They have Eovaldi, okay? And Eovaldi, you could put his playoff stats and compare him to anybody. This guy is a monster in the playoffs. He's not highly regarded in fantasy anymore because you can't rely on him to stay healthy, but this guy throughout his career has been excellent in the postseason, and nothing has changed this year. So we'll see what happens, but Eovaldi not pitching tonight. I'm just making a comment. I'm just saying Eovaldi's a monster. I really hope Max Scherzer is going to do this is the day that he needs to shine, for sure. Bruce Bochy told the reporters yesterday that he's planning on hitting Evan Carter third in the lineup today. Texas has only trailed at the end of one full inning through their first 7 postseason games, entering the American League Championship Series Game 3, and they can set or tie this mark. Okay, the Rangers are 7-0 in the playoffs, tying the second longest win streak to start a postseason in Major League Baseball history. The Royals had 8 in 2014. Jose Leclerc has closed all 7 games, setting a new Major League Baseball record for the longest streak to begin a postseason. Jose Leclerc finally getting to the postseason. Is that what we're talking about here? He's never been there. He's not that young, Anyways, I think this is the second time he's pitched for the Rangers. Correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't this guy start his career as a Texas Ranger? And he had a good season, getting a lot of saves one year before he just kind of went out of the picture for a while. Anyway, he's doing great. He's closed out all 7 games. The Rangers have won all 7. So the Rangers have also outscored their opponents by 22 runs in the playoffs. It's the 4th best through 6 games of a single postseason all time. Only the 1960 Yankees, the 1970 Orioles, and the 2020 Braves were better. Here's Yordan Alvarez. He's the first player in Astros history with 2 multi-home run games in a single postseason. He's the 6th player to ever do it, including Nick Castellanos, who just did it this year. And the Rangers, we told you, they've outscored their opponents 22 runs in the playoffs. Framber Valdez has now allowed at least 5 runs in 4 of his 15 career postseason appearances. He's the first to do that since David Price did it 5 times from 2010 to 2016. It's going to be a very rusty Max Scherzer out there on the mound tonight for the Rangers. That's from Merrill Hartson. Kenny Flamia, nice to see you, friend. Good to see you. Let's see. Yeah, so here's the thing that Leonard Donaldson brings up. The Astros did not have a good record at home this year. They always have a good record on the road. And this year, their road record happened to be better than their home record, which is interesting, but they've always been good on the road. I'm not sure about the playoffs, like whether you can even differentiate, but the Houston Astros for the last handful of seasons has been better. They've been excellent on the road, better than any other team in baseball, to be honest. So that's a good point. We'll see what happens. And yes, Max Scherzer. Very rusty still. Tommy Johnson says the Rangers will probably win. Having Bochy as a manager is a huge plus. Yeah, I'd say so. And anytime I hear anybody telling me or making a comment that managers don't really do much besides set the lineup in baseball, I will point them to Bruce Bochy, okay, who's had a magnificent career, and this year might be his best ever, just because when he was with San Francisco, they were a winning team. You know, they won the World Series every other year. They always had youngsters coming up. They're just a good organization, but the Rangers, just over the past couple years, they've come out of nowhere. I give them a lot of credit, right? The last 26 World Series champions opened their season against a team that did not make the playoffs. Only 3 times has a World Series winner opened the next season versus a playoff team. 6 times a World Series loser has opened against a playoff team. Interesting with the scheduling. Maybe there is some method to their madness, right? Yeah, the Astros 39-42 record at home and 51-30 record on the road. Max Scherzer will get the start for the Rangers, Game 3. So we do have a little time, and Lenny told me I don't have to do this. I could just end the podcast, but I do want to. We started doing the disappointing players from last season. And we did the first 12 on Sunday, Lady and the Legend. And he said, go ahead and do the next 12, 13 that we have. Should I stay? Good morning to King Hap. You just got here, so I should just stay and talk about some disappointing players. We'll make this a full podcast today for everybody. You can escape your life for a little longer. I'm hanging out with you for a while more. Now, King Hap, do not forget, tonight is King Hap and Taco on the Happy Hour Social Club. It's a great show. They talk about all kinds of sports, I'm sure especially football right now. They play fantasy, so they come at you from all kinds of angles. And you can find their Twitch, a link to their Twitch channel right here on the website at LennyMelnickFantasySports.com/live. You can find the Happy Hour Social Club on Facebook. And it's really a great group of people interacting with the chat room. They play marbles. They have all kinds of fun. So get on down to the Happy Hour tonight, 7:30 Eastern Time. Boom. Right, King Hap? How's that commercial for you? I just make them up as I go, you know what I mean? James K., great to see you. Welcome to the show. And for those of you who came late, I just want to retell you that Lenny is on his way to see his oldest son, who just flew in from Chicago last night. Lenny's ex-wife Linda's had eye surgery yesterday, so Lenny's going to meet up with his daughter Rachel, his son Michael, and his ex-wife Linda at her house, and they're going to spend some family time together. Lenny's very excited because it's been an excruciating couple of years for him not being able to see his kids or his grandkids out in Chicago. And he couldn't be happier. He was so excited. He left 2 hours early this morning. And, he just can't wait to go give his kid a hug. And it's just a great thing. So that's why I'm here. Nothing wrong in the Melnick household. Anyway, let's go. When is Taco going to win some marbles, King Hap? I'm sick and tired of Taco losing the marbles. Big Al, great to see you, Big Al. All right. DJ LeMahieu, this is a disappointing situation here. Yankees infielder, he won the batting title in 2020. In 96 games, in the first 96 games of 2023, he was batting .240 with 8 home runs and 29 RBIs, and he finished the season hitting .243, 55 runs, 15 home runs, 44 RBIs, 2 stolen bases, and caught stealing twice. The thing about DJ LeMahieu is in fantasy, the best thing about him was his play discipline. He also qualified at like every infield position. He ended up finishing the season a lot better than he started it because he finished with 562 plate appearances, and his on-base percentage is still good. it was 327. Now, this is not somebody that you draft early in leagues, but I'm interested, and I didn't put it in my notes, but I'm interested to know where he qualifies because his position eligibility was a big deal and a big part of why people were even interested in him at all. Now, I will say that even though his 327 on base percentage doesn't look bad, this guy is absolutely showing signs of aging because he's striking out a lot more than he ever did. Like his strikeout rate in 2023 was 22.2%. Now, if you're comparing that to the rest of the baseball players in Major League Baseball, you wouldn't say that that's horrible. But when we're talking about a guy that used to walk as much as he struck out, we're talking about a 10, 12, 13% strikeout rate. He's still walking 11% of the time, but he's striking out 22% of the time, and his contact rate has plummeted 10 percentage points in one season. This guy never had a contact rate below 80%. Now, this past season, it was 74%. So there you go with DJ LeMahieu. Don't just draft him. Make sure you check out his position eligibility. And yes, I agree, he's done. Lance Lynn. All right, was he a big disappointment? Or did you kind of expect this to happen? He's going to be 37 years old next year. And in the first half, he was among the league leaders in strikeouts after fanning 16 batters in one start in mid-June. But then, by the All-Star break, he had a 5.88 ERA in 24 starts. And we know he's a pending free agent. And Lenny, he said, who would you rather have, Montgomery or Lynn? And I said, that's a ridiculous question. Please try to find a better pitcher than Lynn to ask the chat room that, because Montgomery over Lynn every day of the week. There's nobody in the chat room that's going to say Lynn. And he said, well, he did improve since he went to the Dodgers. He finished the season still with a 13-11 record, a 5.73 ERA, a 1.39 WHIP. He still maintained 191 strikeouts in 183 innings pitched. So what can we say for sure about Lance Lynn? He's a workhorse. But, all right, can you expect another 103 innings pitched from him? I mean, you do it until you just don't one year. But no matter how many innings he pitches, you can always rely on a steady stream of strikeouts, but you better find somebody to make up for your horrible ERA and WHIP. Still, in the final month of the season, he had the best month of all year. He pitched a 3.71 ERA and a 1.29 WHIP. And you think about this, the fact that his September was the best month of the entire season, and this is after 180 innings pitched, and you just don't see this in these youngsters. They do not have the stamina to have your best month of the season at the end after you've pitched all of these innings. So I will say that in 17 innings pitched in September, he struck out 15 batters. So that's that. He'll be the Cardinal. Okay, he's terrible. He's gone home run, gone. Yes, I agree. That's true. Did Andrea and I just agree on Hump Wednesday? Absolutely, Danny. If we don't agree on anything ever again, at least we both agree that it's Happy Hour Wednesday. Come one, come all. All right, Manny Machado. I hate to say this. I hate to bring up Manny Machado, but I have to because I know that he was a disappointment for the people in the chat room. Personally, I didn't get lucky enough to get him on any of my teams. I guess that's positive. When you're looking back and you say to yourself, what am I going to expect out of Manny Machado next year? You know, if you had him on your team last year, the chances of you drafting him this coming season are probably very slim. He signed an extension with the Padres last spring training. His bat absolutely got off to a slow start. In the first half, he hit .256 with 20 home runs, 67 RBIs. He had a .776 OPS through 101 games played, and he missed time with a hand injury. But by the end of the season, he hit Still not great. 258. Still, though, 75 runs, 30 homers, 91 RBIs, and 3 stolen bases. He was caught stealing twice. Do not expect stolen bases from this guy anymore. He's going to be 31, but you could see, he never was like a huge stolen base guy, but he only tried to steal 5 bases all season, and he got caught twice. So he did get 601 plate appearances, and he ended his season injured. I think he underwent surgery, but whatever it is, I'm pretty sure Manny will be back in health condition. I mean, one of the best things about Manny, I call him Macho Manny, and everybody knows I love him. You look at the number of games that he participates in every year after year after year, and eventually that's not going to be the case. He is getting older, but he's still only 31. He's just a tough guy. He's not one of these wussies that you find around that like stubs their toe running around second base and they're out for 6 weeks. You know what I mean? Manny can handle it. I love him in San Diego. His walk rate, pretty good. He walks 8.3% of the time. It's gone down a little, but he still strikes out only 18% of the time. His contact rate is just as high as ever, 79.9%. His batting average on balls in play suffered this year, and, so it wasn't horrible, 260. But it's normally 330 and stuff, and you really have to compare these to the history of the player. Anyway, will I draft Manny next year? Absolutely. Will he be my favorite player in baseball? Absolutely. I think he's going to go cheaper. I mean, he'll probably be cheaper than Austin Riley because Riley had a great season. I don't know. Manny Machado, disappointing, but when you look at his overall numbers, they're not that bad. Just don't expect him to steal bases. Let's talk about Alek Manoah. Is Malpal here? Yes. What can we say about Alek Manoah? Manoah finished third in the Cy Young voting last season. He had a 6.36 ERA in 13 starts before he got demoted to the minors. He was demoted for a second time after a short comeback, but he still finished the season with a 5.87 ERA, a 1.74 whip. That's where the big problem is. That whip is just nasty. He's not striking. One of the best things about him was the ability to strike out batters. Now, I think he might have got lucky because his strikeout has just gone down, down, down. The 3 years that he's been in the majors, it went from 10.2 per 9 to 8.24 per 9. Now it's at 8.14 per 9. But his walks this season, 6 walks per 9 innings. Holy moly, and that's not the end of his problems. He's also got he gives up 1.55 home runs per 9. That is unbelievable. It's a big increase from what he did before that. So as soon as he started letting home runs go out of the park, you started really seeing what this guy is made of. His walk rate was absolutely horrible too. Also, consider this. He had an 8.15 ERA at home and a 4.33 ERA away. So, his ERA over the past 2 seasons has been higher at home than away, but not anywhere in the significance of 4 on the road and 8 at home. That's a lot. Plus, the home runs at home, 2.3 per 9, and on the road, 1 per 9. So if you ask Malpal what he thinks about the good old Alek Manoah, he might point you to his formula of strikeout percentage plus ground ball percentage. And what we do is very simple. We just add the strikeout percentage plus the ground ball percentage. And if you get 70 or higher, then you need to look again at this pitcher. It's not end all be all, but that's where the formula starts. And Malpal will be doing a podcast talking about this more in depth. And over the last couple years, we've talked about this formula, and he has worked with it, and he's started to really hone in on things that you have to also pay attention to besides just ground balls and strikeout rate. I mean, the walk rate has to come into play somewhere too. And, so there's more to it, but we'll let Malpal explain that on the highly anticipated pitching podcast that we'll do sometime this offseason. Starling Marte, right fielder for the Mets, signed a 4-year deal in his mid-30s, which is always risky, you know. He struggled at the plate in the first half. In the first 86 games, he was batting .248 with 5 home runs and 28 RBIs. He also went on the injured list with a groin injury and never returned. He's expected back for spring training, but he is 36 years old now. And, how can we really even take much of his stats at all? He pretty much finished the season with 5 home runs, batting .248, but that's because he went on the injured list with a groin injury. He never came back. And we look at Marte's splits between versus left-handed pitchers and versus right-handers. And you can see that he hits lefties much better than he hits righties, .273 compared to .238. It's always been like that, but as he ages, you can start to see it becoming more drastic splits. And it's unfortunate because most pitchers are not left-handed, so he suffers there. Also, his walk rate is horrible. It's down to 4%. His strikeout rate is the highest it's been since he came up to the majors in 2014. And he's chasing the ball more, which probably means his eye is not as good. Either way, it was a pretty big disappointment, especially for the Mets. Now, Tyler O'Neill, what do we do about Tyler O'Neill next year? You just stop drafting him basically. No, there's few players in baseball are more frustrating than Tyler O'Neill, who we know has ability, 5-tool ability, but he continues to just struggle with injuries. You never know when he's coming back. I brought up the guy that stubs his toe around second base just running. That's Tyler O'Neill, and you never know when he's going to come back. You never know what the hell's the problem. Right now, his current injury is his foot, okay? But when you're not even playing good, when you're on the field and you're the type of guy that stubs your toe and you spend the next season sitting on the bench, it's just not worth even talking about in fantasy anymore. The Cardinals, what are they even going to do with this guy? I mean, all right, in the first half, he played 47 games due to injury, and he struggled with his hitting. He had 6 home runs and 15 RBIs, batting .241, and that was better than he finished the season, okay? Because he finished the season batting .231, 9 home runs, and 21 RBIs. Anyways, he played in a total of 72 games, 266 plate appearances, and this 715 OPS just keeps popping up. It's just horrible. You can't draft him anymore. Tyler O'Neill, I don't think you'll even be wanting to draft him. But here's one that started off disappointing, but ended the season and into the playoffs very good. Grayson Rodriguez, the most hyped pitching prospect in baseball coming into the season. He didn't pitch well enough in spring training to win a rotation spot with Baltimore, but when he did finally arrive, he struggled. He was sent back down with a 5.84 ERA over his first 15 starts. He finished the season 7-4 with a 4.35 ERA, a 1.34 whip, 23 games started, and 122 innings pitched. Now, I'll tell you the last 60 days of the season, Grayson Rodriguez turned it around big time, and I wouldn't be surprised if that will make him once again one of the most hyped youngsters heading into next season. Where are you drafting Grayson Rodriguez? Like, give me an idea of a pitcher that you would draft Grayson Rodriguez, or that you might see in a draft and consider, like, should I take Grayson Rodriguez, or should I take, does Luis Castillo fit in there? I want to know, with you guys in the chat room, how hyped are you on Grayson Rodriguez? I will finish what I was saying, which is the last 2 months of the season, the last 60 days. Grayson Rodriguez pitched a 2.20 ERA with a 1.20 whip, 43 strikeouts in 41 innings, and only 39 hits allowed. He had an excellent ending to the season. And I'll tell you this too. In his last 5 starts, he went 7 innings. Oh, no, wait. Hold on. We're talking about the innings pitched. I'm looking at the hits. We need to look at the innings pitched. So on August 8th, he pitched 6 innings. August 14th, he pitched 7. August 22nd, 6. August 28th, 6. September 4th, 6. September 16th, 8. This guy does go deep into games, and he's able to do that. So pick 150 is what Flamia says. Thank you. And Danny Fuller, 80th at bat, 20th as pitcher. 80th. Okay, the 20th pitcher off the board, 80th overall. I think that's what you're saying. Let's see what else we got here. All right. Why are you protesting? You're protesting? Don't protest us, Mal Pal. All right. Grayson Rodriguez. Rodriguez still played in the American League Division Series Game 2, 5 runs on 6 hits and 4 walks across only 1.2 innings. He struck out 2. Did that hurt Grayson Rodriguez? I think everybody's going to forget that, really. I don't think so. Hello, Mitchell. Nice to see you. Triple play, great to see you. I'm glad I stayed on and did longer, so you guys have something to do. Gene Segura. Do we want to talk about this guy? He's done too. Seriously, first of all, he got cut loose by the Marlins. The Guardians, and then I think, let's see what happened. He got traded to Cleveland. Cleveland cuts him. And then now he plays for the Marlins. No, maybe he's a free agent. I'm done with Gene Segura. I'm not talking about him anymore. Let's talk about Luis Severino, the Yankees starting pitcher. The oft-injured Severino both missed time to injury and struggled mightily when he did pitch. In the first half, he was unable to keep the ball down. He allowed 18 home runs over his first 63 innings pitched. Now he's hurt again, not expected back till February of 2024. Look, he's only going to be 30 next year, so what can you say? Are you going to give up completely? This is one of those guys that you just think, man, when he does come back, well, we've seen it, so we know he has it in him, right? And I'll tell him, you need to go and pitch and work out with Pedro Martinez again, because the last time he went and worked with Pedro Martinez in the offseason, he was an absolute monster the next year. 6.65 ERA, a 1.65 whip. It's no bueno. Let's see. How many Ks did he get? 79 strikeouts in 89 innings, 113 hits allowed. That is absolutely horrific, okay? 23 home runs allowed to finish the season. Walks per 9, the highest they've been. Home runs per 9, listen to this, fellas, 2.32 home runs per 9. That is absurd. You cannot even keep pitching in a rotation if you continue to do that. His velocity actually went up a little bit. He's still throwing 96.5 miles an hour. But his FIP was just as bad as his ERA, so that's because of all the home runs he's given up. His home run to fly ball ratio now is at 20.9%, hopped all the way up from 14%. The best thing he's got going is that 96 mile an hour fastball, but then you have to ask yourself, is that why he's always hurt? Right now he's got a high-grade oblique strain, okay? First of all, a high-grade oblique strain. You think about your oblique, it's really just the core of your body, okay? And it's a high grade. That means he's just throwing his body out trying to pitch this hard. It's got to be. He's always hurt. So any of you, he still is only 30. So what are you going to do with Severino? Is he worth $1? I'll pay $1 for him. I'll pay $2 for him probably. I might even pay $3. It's a chance you take, right? That's why we talk about these players. Are you willing to consider, let me put it this way. At what point are you willing to consider Luis Severino? Let's talk about Patrick Sandoval real quick. Starting pitcher for the Angels. The Angels placed him on the 15-day injured list September 26th, so that ended his season. He finished 2023 with a 4.11 ERA and a 1.51 whip, 144 and 2/3 innings, and 28 starts. His ERA 4.11, Okay, it's pretty much right in line with what his FIP says. Fielding independent percentage is still the same. But the thing about Patrick Sandoval, you got to look at his ground balls. He's really good at getting ground balls. 46.6% ground ball rate. Add that to the 19.6% strikeout rate, which is mediocre, okay? The 19% strikeout rate is mediocre at best. It's 8 strikeouts per 9 innings. All right, but it's still close to 70, and it's tempting because he's always been with the Malpal formula right there at 70. In fact, the last couple of seasons, he's had like 72, 73. It's because he induces so many ground balls and he's been able to strike out batters. But once that strikeout percentage goes away, you have to start wondering, is he worth the expectations of a breakout, right? Because his strikeout rate went from 9.72 this is per 9, in 2021, 9.14 in 2022, and it's down to 7.96 in 2023. He's only going to be 27 next year. Patrick Sandoval, he is worth a flyer. There's no doubt about it. Age 27, it's prime for the athleticism. If he works hard, he should be able to get those strikeouts back. I'd be interested to hear how Malpal feels about Patrick Sandoval going in next year. Let's talk about Brady Singer, even though I know a lot of you probably just go, what the hell, Brady Singer? Seriously? He's only 20. He's going to be 28 years old next year. So it's interesting because last season he was Kansas City's ace. Although when you have a rotation like Kansas City, it's not saying much that your ace is Brady Singer. He did struggle this year, at least until July. He had a 6.34 ERA in his first 15 starts. He finished the season with an ERA at 5.52, a 1.45 whip. Now, why am I even bringing this up? He had a great 6-week stretch from late June to mid-August where he pitched a 3.05 ERA across 59 innings, 24 earned runs, okay, in his next 5 starts. So, still, 100. Let's look at his stuff here. His ground ball rate is intriguing. If this guy, I don't know what his contract says, but if he ends up in a place like, look, his ground ball rate is 49.5% and his strikeout rate, if he could get it up just a little bit, he'd be right there. And the thing about Kansas City is that you're surrounded by a bunch of other people that aren't that great defensively, and the left on base percentage was only 65%. That's way low. That means that people are just scoring all over the place. But, you know, it's your responsibility as a pitcher to not allow these runners on base to begin with. However, in his defense, okay, we're talking about a 64% left on base percentage. That means everybody that's getting on base is scoring. And that's that. I was going to talk about Trey Turner, but you saw how he ended the season, 26 homers, 30 stolen bases, and look at him now. I mean, 691 plate appearances. There was a lot of trash talk going on about Trey Turner and how he was doing to start the season. Still had 12 home runs in 116 games. That wasn't good enough for a lot of people that drafted him first overall. I mean, this guy was not messed around with in fantasy drafts, so I can understand the disappointment. He did end the season with a disappointing 266 batting average when you're used to a 300 batting average coming from this guy, and he finishes the season 266. That did not help you, maintain your batting average. You rely on guys like Trey Turner to make up for late round draft picks that hit a bunch of home runs but have a 205 batting average like Kyle Schwarber. And when Trey Turner doesn't come out and show you the 300 batting average in 600 plate appearances, you will notice it in your stats overall. So, Kyle Schwarber is a perfect example of somebody that you draft for home runs only if you have guys like Trey Turner on your team. And next year we're going to have to go approach that a little bit different because is he going to continue? He's going to be 31 next year. But he played in 155 games and he stole freaking 30 bases without getting caught one time. So this guy still has the power, no doubt about it. Okay, his contact rate went down a little bit, not much, 76.5. It's usually right about 80%. His strikeout rate did go up a little bit to 21.7%. That's the highest it's ever been since the first year he came up in 2015. And he still takes a walk about 6.5% of the time. But his average exit velocity, okay, off the bat, it actually was higher than it was in 2022. His hit distance was higher than it was in 2022. And everything else looks about the same for Turner. So you got to give the guy credit, 30 stolen bases and no caught stealing. There's nothing, okay, bad to say about that. Good morning to Chris and Debbie Gallo. And SM King Turd says he'd rather have Matt McClain than Trey Turner at the cost. That's probably, I would say that a lot of people feel that way. I'm taking Trey Turner, dude, just because I don't trust these youngsters in their second season. The sophomore slump idea is kind of a myth, you know, and a lot of people don't even say sophomore slump anymore, but there is something to it. I just don't know. I guess I just like to have a little more veteran on my team, but I think there's a lot of people out there that would agree with you and will be jumping on these youngsters, no doubt about it. All right, everybody, I'm going to end my... I added Trevor Story to the list for Boston Paul and Mike Trout. Trevor Story, good grief. Is he even draftable next year? All right. Is he even draftable? He had 168 plate appearances total, 3 home runs, but he did steal 10 bases, although he got caught stealing 3 times. He had a tough year. He batted 200. His on-base percentage, 250. Is his name recognition going to get him drafted in fantasy? And will you spend $1 just because you remember when this guy was going in the first and second rounds of fantasy? So we know he can do it. And like I said, he's only 31 going into this season. Could he be healthy? Could he be worth a couple dollars? Okay. What's his contract? He signed a 3-year, $62.5 million contract with the Red Sox in March of 2022, which means he's with this team whether they like it, they're signing or not. He has the option to opt out after 2025. It also includes a 3-year, $75 million team option or a $5 million buyout for 2026 through 28, okay? This guy is stuck in Boston, or should I say, Boston is stuck with this guy, okay? And I'm just saying, we know that he could do some good shit, definitely. We saw him hit 37 homers and steal 27 bases in 2018. We saw him hit 35 homers and 23 stolen bases in 2019. All right? And from then, it just went downhill. So once he went to Boston, all of the love stopped. We knew when you start your career out in Colorado, you're hitting 35, 37 home runs in Colorado. All right, what's going to happen to you when you go to a place like Boston? Now, Boston is good for certain types of hitters, but, oh, Boston, you just made such a bad move by this. Now, you compare a guy like Arenado, who also came from Colorado and is now excellent in St. Louis, and I remember having this argument with people about how, Arenado's value is going to go down because he's not hitting in Colorado anymore. And I say to them, Arenado is such a solid hitter, defender, and everything. I don't know. I mean, I was still rolling with Arenado. But Trevor Story, I also had the same idea with Trevor Story that he'll do fine in Boston. He's going to be great in Boston. The very first year he stunk. And he's stunk since. So that's it. That's some disappointing players. And everybody, thanks for joining me. I might do the podcast again tomorrow if Lenny wants to go back and see his son again before he goes back to Chicago. And have a great day, everybody.